and also the nature of this shock, that it actually, even the, in terms of the severity of the shock, the middle income countries this time actually are absorbing or taking the largest hit. This all basically points to the nature that the tools that we have globally in terms of how to help countries need to be rethought, because basically existing instruments have been designed to tackle country-specific shock, idiosyncratic type of shocks. And now we are dealing with a series of global shocks that need different and revamped instruments. And this is part of actually what we are, ECA is now coordinating in terms of, there has been a working group that has been formed with ECA as the secretariat of that working group, with the ministers of finance, the IMF, the World Bank, and key African stakeholders, including the African Union, African Development Bank, Afrexim Bank, to look into the issue of global financial architecture reform that actually works for Africa. So all these issues and challenges are being discussed in detail to see what type of asks need to be put forward. And I'll be perhaps giving a bit more detail later on in the day, and happy to answer any questions related to this. But this is basically where we are. So totally agree that the nature of the type of shocks that we are facing now is different than what we have faced in the earlier decades. So a new thinking of what tools and instruments are needed is required. And actually part of what, with all of us here, this is an opportunity to actually put our thinking together in terms of what are the most and most useful ways to put forward a unified ask of what need to change and how. So that's in terms of the issue of the global nature. I just wanted to say for the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, we have a colleague of ours, Director Stephen Karengi, who would be presenting later on trade and integration. So you will have more detailed discussion on this issue. And then in terms of the impact on agriculture, yes, agree with the colleagues that have raised it, that this is an issue and a sector that has been particularly hit by number of shocks. Of course, the pandemic affected supply chain or led to supply chain disruptions for the sector. You've also had now with the Ukraine crisis another shock in terms of food and food insecurity and implications for the global supply chains, and with fertilizers as well. And on top of that all, we have the issue of the climate change that is affecting Africa the most out of all regions and have serious implications for the agriculture sector. Yes, and that is one of the areas also that can really highly benefit from the African Continental Free Trade Agreement in terms of increasing regional linkages and regional supply chains. So I look forward to hearing more on that and further discussion in our next session. Thank you very much.